Getting started in a few Ms. Toss any links to stories into the Discord. Oh hi Canooch. Oh hi KBP. Oh hi yo. GYAT. Could not have Canooch interrupting every time someone typed one out.
Oh, hi. Hello. How you doing? My name is Waldo, and I'm here to feel the politics with you. How's everybody doing today? I am good. I am great. It is slightly sunny out there, but not too bad today. So far, should be a nice chill day. Not too hot. Not bad. Hi KBP. I know. I'm sorry. The TTS had to happen. It was interrupting too often. I'm super famous now, so everybody is in here chatting away, and Knooch was interrupting too much. It's not easy to turn on and off, but I might be able to do it if I'm intending to plan on doing a game stream or something like that. I think I could pull that off. So that would be a thing that I could do. I don't know if I'd have to restart the stream. I have no idea. I'd have to practice with that later. So today is Saturday. I have a handful of silly, funny things to talk about. I think Thomas is in the chat, but I don't know if he said anything yet.
I am here.
He is here. Hello, Thomas. How are you?
I'm good. And speaking of the touch to, or the text to speech thing, once you get big enough, you can turn that into a donos only thing.
Sure. Yeah. That is part of the plan someday. But it would probably only be like during certain times and not when you and I are talking. So yeah, I changed it up. We get these super cool animated emote things. I downloaded a bunch of the common ones from the Twitch app thing, and so those are there now. And I didn't want those to be spoken aloud, so I changed it to where you can still do the TTS. You just have to type exclamation TTS.
Hi.
Into the chat. So yeah, that's the thing. Today is Saturday, so I have a handful of news stories to look at and talk about, and then some, and I think that will be enough to get us through a whole stream today. There's enough to talk about. I have not gotten your opinion on the whole Biden out, Kamala in thing, because it's only been 4 days, and I hadn't talked to you since then. So I wouldn't mind starting there if you don't mind starting there.
Sure.
Tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you're feeling. Biden resigned. Kamala is then became the front runner, and then everybody got behind her, and 26 of the states pledged their delegates to her. So it's almost entirely a done deal now.
Yes. So I mean, even the Obamas endorsed her, so she's going to be the candidate.
I think so too.
Thoughts on it? Let's see. I didn't, and I don't think I still think I don't view her as a threat.
To democracy, to your life, to Donald Trump?
Donald Trump.
Okay.
In terms of who's winning the election.
Okay.
I don't think she's a particularly strong candidate. Although, I will say that I watched her speech, the one that she did when Biden stepped down, and the delegates all pledged to vote for her. And that was actually a decent speech. I'll give her that credit. It was a damn sight better than Biden's speeches lately.
Right, which is exactly why I suggested we replace him. Did you see the? I think she's going to win. It's over. I think Donald Trump has lost.
Oh, no way.
Oh, absolutely. Did you see how much money she raised in just like 2 days?
Vote Republican.
I mean, Trump has raised a ton of money too.
No, he hasn't. He's less than last time, and even Elon backed out of the money that he might have promised to give him. Nobody's sure on that one. Then
Elon is a crazy person.
I know he's a crazy person.
He's a crazy person. The guy has lost his mind in the last year.
He lost his mind a long time ago. We just now noticing it. I think he was in a ketamine fucking haze and promised to give $45 million a month to this America PAC, which only gives money to one candidate, Donald Trump. That's it. And then people started giving him grief. And then the Kamala thing happened. And then he was like, "Ugh, okay, I don't want to be on the other side of that." So he backed out and has never given the America PAC any money. And he's been loose with his language. They're like, "Hey, are you giving Donald Trump $45 million?" He's like, "No, I'm not." And when he was in an interview, I don't know if you saw it, with the goddamn Riddler, Jordan Peterson. So he said, I'm not giving money to Donald Trump. I'm giving money to the America PAC. The America PAC donates to exactly one candidate, and that's Donald Trump. But then he didn't even give the money to the America PAC, and he's gone back on that. And he said, "Oh, the Wall Street Journal made it all up." So he's gone back on that as well. He does a lot of drugs.
Elon, he's out of his mind at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, the funniest thing is, I actually made $10,000 this week betting against Tesla.
Oh, okay.
On the stock market with options.
Okay.
I mean, and I listened to his earnings call, and it's like, excuse me, my voice getting raspy. 1 second.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you called it betting, though.
I bought options, and I had a good idea of what was going to happen. He always overpromises and underdelivers.
Mm-hmm.
We were supposed to have the Hyperloop 5 years ago or whatever. The full self-driving was supposed to happen in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
They were supposed to make a $25,000 Model 2 Tesla by, I think, last year, and it still hasn't happened. And then on the call, he's like, "Yeah, we're developing a robot now that's gonna be like iRobot. It'll do all your chores for you."
Ooh.
And it's like, and then it'll be 4 trillion market, quadruple that, right on the call. And at the end of the call, he goes, if you don't believe we're gonna achieve self-driving in the next year, don't buy our stock, sell our stock.
Amazing. Okay.
In the middle of an earnings call.
If you don't think we're going to do it, sell your stock. Well, he needs them to sell for. Well, he's a mess. I think
God,
he's
it was so
hepped
hilarious.
up on ketamine. He gets high on that stuff, and then he just makes things up or pushes ideas that aren't completely solid anymore. I mean, my favorite was his rocket idea from Los Angeles to New York, because he just said he wanted this idea. This isn't something that he like literally worked for, but it was just this thing he put together, like this idea that you would take a rocket from New York to Los Angeles in 20 minutes or something like that. And when somebody did all the logistical steps, not just the rocket itself, but getting to the rocket launch pad, you would have to show up at the pier and then go through security, then get on a boat. That boat would have to take you out to to the launch pad that is out in the ocean, because it can't be close to civilization, because if it's too close to civilization, it will cause a giant shockwave explosions. Caulfield 95, I appreciate you following. Thank you very much. Thank you. Hello, Mr. Sabretooth. That is right. I am the Sabretooth. Thanks for following. You just turned a frog gay. I hope you're proud of yourself. So yeah, you would have to go through security, ride a boat, a little ferry kind of thing, out to the launch pad, then get on the rocket. Then the rocket would fly from Los Angeles to New York in 20 minutes, sure. But then you would have to land on a launch pad that is out in the ocean, because it can't be too close to civilization, and then take another ferry back to land, at which point you would get in your Uber. And they did the math, and it comes out to the same amount of time that it takes to fly in a plane. And so he dropped that idea, and I think that's great. Have wild pie in the sky, have wild ass ideas, and then think about them. That's a fun thing to think about. But then you need the actual engineers to be like, hey, listen, man, you cannot put a rocket blasting off inside a city. Doesn't work. It creates this blast wave, and it shakes the buildings and makes people deaf and breaks windows and stuff like that. You can't do that.
Has anyone checked up on the Mars colony recently? It was established this year, right?
No, there's no the people that are pretending to live on Mars. I don't know if that.
No. That was another Elon overpromise, underdelivery.
So they didn't go out there
8 years ago or so. He said he was gonna that we would have a colony on Mars by 2024.
Oh yeah, the Mars colony. Yeah, that definitely didn't happen. I was thinking maybe they were doing the practice. I think some of the practice has happened. Some of the put people in the Arizona desert and isolate them and see how well they do. Caulfield 095, did you guys see the Mark Hamill post about Biden? No, I hadn't seen it. If you want to link it into the Discord, you could.
Yeah. Anyhow, Kamala.
Kamala, yes.
Kamala, yeah.
She's
I don't.
probably the nominee at this point.
Yeah, she is. I like I said, she did fine in her speech, but I mean,
Record-breaking
great.
amounts of money brought in.
She can read a teleprompter pretty well.
Record-breaking amounts of money brought in from individual
I don't think
people.
she's very good off the cuff. And the problem is that improvisation is sort of Trump's thing. So we'll have to see how the debate goes, but I am not sure about her being a threat still.
Oh, I think she's got it. She's absolutely taking Georgia. That's not a swing state anymore. It's going her. She's going to pick probably Mark Kelly to be her vice president. Yeah, Georgia's full of black people. They're going to support her over Donald Trump. They are. They're going to probably choose Mark Kelly, astronaut, and his wife was the survivor of gun violence. This makes a good narrative, my man. And that brings Arizona, which is kind of a swing state, along with her. So that's 11 more electoral votes, swing state. So then she's going to campaign primarily in Michigan and Wisconsin. I think she's going to take those. And then she's won. It's over.
I don't think so. I mean, in the last, 3, 4 elections, maybe 5, Democrats have won the popular vote but lost the college.
Right.
And she is behind even in popular vote polls right now.
I don't trust polls.
I mean,
polls are
I don't
all liars.
necessarily trust them either, but they
all
usually have
lying.
They usually have the Democrat ahead by a few points. And even those polls are red right now.
Sure, they are. Does not surprise me. Because she's brand new. Nobody liked Biden, and we all have to catch up. It's only been 6 days or something like that since he bowed out. The people are getting excited. I think the people are excited. They've got something to vote for rather than just voting against Donald Trump. And I'm doing both.
Kamala?
Huh?
The choice is to vote for Kamala, though?
Yes. According to Stephen Miller, she's the furthest left candidate ever. According to Stephen Miller. I think he's a dipshit, and I really dislike him.
That's not palatable to most voters, though. It's great. It sounds great for you, but I mean,
largest, record-breaking small donations. Record-breaking. The people want it. The people are excited about it. They are giving her money in record numbers because they want her to win.
They did the same thing for Bernie. How'd that go?
Was Bernie further left than anybody else that had ever run?
At the time?
He was.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. I still think he's further left than Kamala, yes. But the record-breaking people supporting numbers with the money goes to the furthest left candidate. That's good news for me. I think that's a great idea. I think that's interesting. She's Bernie's to the left, and he got all kinds of giant super donations. She's further to the left, and she's getting people donations. This is evidence that that's what the people want.
It's what I don't know. It doesn't take a ton of left-leaning people to be motivated enough to donate that to make that happen. And I mean, how much money did she raise, and what is the metric we're using for most campaign donations ever or whatever? Because I've heard several candidates say this exact same thing in the past, and it's always different metrics.
Well, sure, it's always different metrics.
Most campaign donations in a weekend. Even Trump was like, after the attempted assassination, was like, yeah, we got record campaign donations after the fact. Mm-hmm. And it's like, well, okay, what are we talking with records? What are we comparing against? In what time frame? Like, yeah.
Sure, yeah. agree that sometimes the metric changes. It's like how much you got in a weekend, or small donor donations, or a big donor if you're counting all the stuff. According to this thing, let's get my webcam screen up, and then I got to share my screen with you, right? Come on, computer, catch up. Then I forgot to do this. Share your screen. Screen 1, and go live so that you can see it. And what we've got is Kamala Harris fundraising reaches a record-breaking $100 million since Biden's exit. Less than 48 hours have passed since Joe Biden, so this is only like Tuesday. Made history by raising more than $100 million. The campaign said Tuesday. The largest fundraising haul of any candidate ever over the time period, with over $81 million raised in 24 hours after Biden announced he would not seek another term, according to campaign spokesperson this guy. And that was 4 days ago. It's gone up since then. 44,000 people joined a Sunday video call and netted more than $1.5 million for the Harris campaign. The people are excited about this. They're all over it, because they didn't want the two old guys. The people who were excited about Biden weren't excited. Even I wasn't. I was going to begrudgingly, I said it many times, begrudgingly vote for Joe Biden, because he's the furthest left, and I do actually think Trump is an authoritarian.
And now you're going to enthusiastically vote for Kamala?
Literally, yes. Yes.
Right.
According to Stephen Miller and according to myself, she's further left than Biden. This makes me happy. And according to Fox News, she's a radical communist socialist Marxist. So that makes me excited. I like it when they say that about people. It makes me want to support them more. Let's see. I Can't Buttons, We're Not the Normies. Right. Had working class family over, work every day. Facebook users at the lowest levels the night, and they didn't know Biden had dropped out. So he's talking to Facebook normies a couple of days ago who didn't even know Biden had dropped out. They just don't pay attention. Number doesn't matter. We're pointing at winning. That's the message. Okay. Here, briefing on the Israeli conflict gave me hope. Yeah, she did take a stance by not going to listen to Bibi Netanyahu talk, and she's probably not going to be as gung-ho about funding Israel as Joe Biden was. What do you think about that, Thomas?
That's fine.
Okay. No strong stance on that. That's fine.
I never have had one.
Okay.
If you recall, it's not something that I'm particularly concerned about.
Okay. Let's get started with the news items and stuff like that. I know you haven't read them, but I only pulled them out this morning. I got drunk and played board games last night, so I forgot to do my homework. And so we're both reacting to these things right off the cuff. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. So we're going to swap over here. And 5 excerpts from J.D. Vance's emails to a transgender classmate. Former Yale Law classmate shared the Times about 90 emails and text messages with Mr. Vance. Here are some of the most revealing moments in their correspondence. So
we talked about J.D. Vance already as the pick?
I mean, we kind of mentioned it, but this news just came out. These are old emails that he sent that are a little bit shocking. Let's scroll down. Yeah, we know about him. I hate the police. Anyway, just my thoughts. This is a J.D. Vance quote. I'm pretty proud of what Cincinnati has done, but don't know anything about tying grant funding to body cameras. I love the body camera movement and anything that puts cops back in the mindset of service and protection instead of control and coercion. I hate the police, said J.D. Vance. Given the number of negative experiences I've had in the past few years, I can't imagine what a black guy goes through. Sounds like critical race theory. Sounds like he's woke as shit, this J.D. Vance guy.
This from 2015?
Yeah, 2015. Not that long ago.
10 years.
10 years, not in 10 years, you go from I hate the police, they're doing control and coercion, to back the Blue Lives Matter, Republican vice president candidate. Maybe.
I don't know, 10 years ago, Bernie was my second choice.
I know, and I think that he's the furthest left thing that you've ever appreciated, and that confounds me. It befuddles me.
It was his populist stances.
Right, and the
Stances on
Republicans,
trade and
the Republicans
whatnot, yeah.
are fake populists. So I think that's why you support the Republicans, because they're populists, but they're fake populists, but you think they're actually populists, I suppose. But if I had to paint a picture of someone who thought Bernie was great, but then voted for Trump, that's what I would suggest. I would be like, hey, Trump's a fake populist. Bernie's an actual populist.
I mean, I wouldn't vote for Bernie today, though. He would not be my second choice now.
Because
so obviously the politics change.
Okay.
For people, and
that's a pretty big change for JD Vance. I hate the police. Negative experiences. I can't imagine what a black guy goes through. Has he changed that thought? Does he now love the police and think that black people are treated properly by the police?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, that's I can't get inside his mind, but I mean, apparently he also used to think he was gay.
I know. I don't think JD Vance has any ethics, principles, or guidelines. I think he does whatever gets him the most power at any given moment. Whatever gets him the win.
Also, he was a never Trumper.
He was a never Trumper.
A little while too.
Because that got him more power. That got him more authority. He doesn't have principles. Thomas, I think you have principles. I don't think he does. I think he does whatever.
I don't think he was a great pick.
I think he does whatever it takes to get the win tomorrow. If tomorrow going back to this and saying that the police are a part of control and coercion and are tougher on black people, if that got him a win tomorrow, he'd go back to this. What seems different to me is the Republican Party offers nothing as attractive as the demagogue. So I'm not even sure how I feel about this Muslim stuff. I'm obviously outraged at Trump's rhetoric, and I worry most of all about how welcome Muslim citizens feel in their own country. But I also think that people have always believed crazy shit, and there have always been demagogues willing to exploit the people who believe crazy shit. I think he's describing Donald Trump here with being crazy shit. So if he
was a never Trumper at the time.
He was a never Trumper at the time because he knew that Donald Trump was telling lies, blatant, obvious, monster, nightmare, terrible lies that don't have any grounding in reality, and the people believed it because they wanted to, because it made them feel good. They believe the crazy shit that Donald Trump says because they want to. And he recognizes it. And instead of fighting against it and decrying it the way I do, he's jumped on board. If you can't beat him, join him. So he's now just going to push those crazy lies to make the people feel good and vote for him and give him power and authority. It's my opinion. Anything? You got any ideas?
Not really.
Okay. Then I recognize now this may not be accurately reflect how you think of yourself. This is about calling a trans person a lesbian. This is just culture war. I hope you recognize that the description came from a place of ignorance when I first started writing years ago. I hope you're not offended, but if you are, I'm sorry. So he didn't suggest someone was a trans person, but instead lesbian. This is not a big gotcha. He might not have understood, and then he apologized. This is good. This is fine. But if he starts pushing anti-trans legislation, I would be like, hey, remember when you thought this was a person? Shouldn't you treat them like people?
Maybe.
Because he's going pretty hard on the woke, degenerate trans ideology kind of thing.
Is he, though?
Yeah, he is. Talking about how he wants they're all groomers and stuff like that. He's this came out 10 years ago, and since then, recently, he's been anti-trans, hard right, they're all groomers, take the medical transition away from children, and then I think he supported the Project 2025, which takes it away from anybody that's 25 and under. John K, hi, welcome to chat. The couch thing is made up. It's just a meme. Housemate brought it up, and I haven't heard of it. It's made up. Something stupid. Somebody said he had sex with a couch, and then it just became a meme because it's funny and silly. I do not think that it is correct or true or real.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, that's the meme that's going around that JD Vance had sex with a couch. Because it's funny.
Like,
During his,
he put his dick between the cushions or something.
Yeah, he stuck it between the cushions and then got himself off with it. Like that's the meme. That's the joke. That's the funny part. Somebody told a story and it's probably a lie. The couch thing, retro, same as the Kavanaugh's calendar thing. Yeah. Somebody was
sounds
making
a lot
jokes.
like the Trump piss tapes.
Yeah, it's just like that. It's not real, but the P tapes, you have to make jokes about it all the time. Yeah, that's what I said. My gut told me. Yeah, it isn't a true thing, but it is a funny, stupid thing. I saw a funny video with him and his wife sitting on a couch, and the caption was "My favorite throuple." Him, his wife, and the couch. And I thought that was funny. I giggled. That was a laugh. But no, it is not a real thing, and it's not a thing I'll be pointing at when I complain about him. If I complain about him, it'll be the things that he wrote and said. That's just how I roll. And we get back into here for the Never Trumper, a morally reprehensible human being. He is just a bad man, a morally reprehensible human being, Donald Trump. Mr. Vance, living in California at the time, wrote that I'm counting my lucky stars that I live in a place where I don't have to vote for her, Hillary Clinton, because the margin will be so huge, because I know I could never support Trump if it really mattered. Never support Trump if it really mattered, said the vice president for Donald Trump.
8 years ago.
Yeah. 8 years, I wasn't a completely different person. I don't know how he switches so far in just 8 years. It seems to me, this is my impression from reading those things, hearing what he had to say in the past and what he's saying now, is that he doesn't have morality. He doesn't have ethics. He doesn't care or have a solid base that he has thought about to get to the political positions that he has. He has the position that gets him the most clout, the most importance, and the most power. And if that's a different position tomorrow, he'll take a different position tomorrow.
I mean, like I said, I can't get into the guy's mind. I don't know.
Okay. I can't buttons. Perhaps it's just me diving into old childhood friends and rumors disturbing. But hey, public figures, guess why even run for office anymore? This was a college friend, so he wasn't a child. These are people he sent emails to back in college. It is a new world that any email anybody sent can, once you become famous enough, can just be tossed out and reread by everybody. I mean, I have emails from 8 years ago, honestly, in my inbox. And if Thomas went and ran for office, I could release them. I don't think I would. That would be rude. I don't know if I have any emails from Thomas, but I've got plenty of Discord messages and shit like that. So we live in an online world now. This is the new world we live in. It sucks. I'm sorry. Is it dystopian and dangerous? Maybe. But that's the way it is now. So I don't like JD Vance. I think he's a bad guy. But that doesn't surprise me.
That's fine. I don't think it was a great pick, so.
Okay. And let's see. So let's see. JD Vance was a bad pick, and again, that's one more reason that I'm thinking that he's going to he's bringing down the ticket. Trump is being a lunatic and old, and now he's going to stand next to Kamala. I think she has the energy and the excitement, and the people like it, and then they're going to vote for her. JD Vance is a crazy person. We're going to hear more and more about him on the news every day. More of this shit's going to come out. The story I'm reading today just came out today, so the regular news hasn't even picked up on it yet. The normies, as Buttons has suggested, don't even realize that Biden's out. I think the normal news gets hold of this, and he looks like shit. Donald Trump looks like shit. He looks like shit. The people don't show up for him. That's what I'm thinking anyway.
I think that I don't know where you're seeing all this excitement for Kamala, but I don't see it around when especially if people don't even know that he's in the race right now as the primary candidate over Biden. I mean, I don't see it, man. It's
Okay. So
not, yeah.
this one I wanted to talk about. Kamala crushes Donald Trump among Gen Z voters in the new poll. Polls are always liars, so we have to. I have to accept that. Kamala Harris has left ahead of Donald Trump in a new poll looking at support of America's youngest voters, 18 to 34. Respondents, which represented all Gen Z voters and younger millennials, were asked who they would vote for in a head-to-head between Harris and Trump. 60% opted for the vice president, while only 40% picked Trump. This doesn't surprise me, and even then, I honestly think it's higher. Because you know what? How do you even poll fucking 18 to 34-year-olds right now? I don't think you can. Most of them would just not answer the phone. I don't ever answer the phone if it rings and I don't know who's on it. Never. God, no. And most young people are similar to that. If you go online, you're just going to get bombarded possibly by people who have a specific ideology to push. Which is why I think it's actually higher for Kamala than Trump. Am I just doing wishful thinking, Thomas? Are the youth really crying out for Donald Trump?
Oh no, and young people are stupider, and they they tend to lean left in their youth, and then once they start having to pay taxes, suddenly they become more conservative. It's hilarious. Actually.
That is a very common wisdom that I think is wrong. They don't become more conservative. The new youth, Gen X, is very liberal. And then they get old. Gen Y comes in as even more liberal. And when you contrast them, they seem like the Gen X seems more conservative. They're not. The entire thing is shifting to the left slowly. And when the Zoomers come out, they will be more liberal than Gen Y and the millennials, and by contrast, Gen Y will seem more conservative. I think this is just water slowly getting hotter, and you don't notice it kind of thing.
Maybe.
Or stupider, according to Reptar. Yeah, maybe just young people are stupid. I think that it's hard to poll people. Polls are always liars anyway. And it might have been Tony in Kick Chat that the Republican guy, the very hard right to Republican that I banned from our Discord server, that came in here and told me that the kids are all Republican and all supporting Trump. And he got that from polls online that I think were gamed by people on the right who wanted that to be true.
Maybe.
I think right-wing people see a poll and then get all their right-wing friends to fill it out and force it to the right so that they can feel better and more powerful. I don't know. I'm Gen Y. I make decent money and I pay a lot of taxes in my liberal state, and I'm as left as I ever was, says Reptar. I pay taxes as well, and I'm only further left than I was 10 years ago, probably. It's just that I want the government to be filled with smart people to do smart things and intelligent things with those taxes. Do I like paying taxes? No, nobody does. You're right there, Thomas, that if I could pay less, that would be nice for me. But am I going to vote for a Republican to get that? Absolutely not. I think they have really bad ideas.
That's fine. But most people don't vote based on the ideas. They vote based on outcomes.
Well,
how much money do I have in my pocket right now?
I don't think they do. What do you mean by outcomes? Sell me on that. Because I'm about to argue with you, but maybe I won't. Most people vote based on outcomes.
Well, yeah. I mean, for example, people will tend to vote against the incumbent president when gas prices are really high in the near term, leading to an election. Or look at Donald Trump's presidency. What happened right during the election? COVID did. It's the recency thing. How nice is my life right now? And can I blame the current administration for it? Right?
Okay.
I mean, that's pretty much the long and short of it.
Okay, great. Just the short-sighted, what are we doing right now? How do I feel right now? That
yes,
seems
that
like
is
feelings.
exactly how
Okay,
most
great.
of these people vote. Yeah.
Okay, that's vibes, And I think Kamala's going to get the vibes. She really is. She's going to come out there. She's going to be exciting. She's going to be energetic, and she's going to laugh and clap, and all the kids are going to be all about it. And
Yeah,
she's
but
going to have the
that's
energy.
the problem though. She laughs and she claps at like the worst possible times. It's like Hillary
the
all over
people love
again.
it. The people are going to love it. They're going to be great. Once she gets, I think once she's out on stage and stuff like that, I think the people are going to absolutely eat it up.
We'll see.
And then she's going to win, I think. There's still a chance. I mean, there is a chance, like you mentioned earlier, the popular vote. There's a chance she gets 4 million more votes than Donald Trump, and he still wins because of the Electoral College. That's, I think, a possible scenario. I think that's a 40. I think it was 60-40. 60% chance she wins. 40% Trump wins the Electoral College, but loses the electoral vote again. That's my guesstimate at the moment, if I had to put numbers to it. Reptar, Bernie was my guy in 2016, 2020, but Warren was a close second, and she was super effective as a politician. Yeah, I like Warren as well. She's been real quiet since Donald Trump stomped on her, though, about the Native American thing. But
where she lied about her heritage.
Yeah, everybody lies about that. My grandma lies to me about that. She does. My grandpa was 100% Cherokee. It's just a thing old people said to negate the guilt they felt from stealing all the land from these people.
They didn't do that.
They did too. Well, they didn't. Their grandparents did. They felt bad. They learned. They learned what happened to the Native Americans, and then they felt bad about it. And instead of doing something about it, they said, "Oh, my grandpa was full-blooded Cherokee," and they lied about it. My grandma did it to me. My grandma did it to me. She told me that was true. It's not true. I looked into it. It's not even close to being true. She just said it because she felt guilty and wanted to be special and interesting. So if I had, instead of looking for the facts and the truth, if I had just internalized what my grandma told me, I would have done the same. I would have fallen into the same pit trap that Warren fell into and be like, yeah, my great grandpa was 100% Cherokee. And then it turns out not to be true. I don't fall in traps like that.
Man,
we're off topic. Sorry. I derailed to complain about grandma. So what other news things do we have? We've got that, and then we can bring up, close this.
I'm pretty sure it was a lie and an infinite more than lineage. I mean, there is a point at which when you take a DNA sample that they'll do like a 1% as basically a negligible amount that you like. It could be 0, it could be 2%, but
she exaggerated it. I'm not going to argue that point. She did exaggerate it, and she used it to get into college because college is a fucking scam. And she used it on her fucking college application. Said, "Oh, I'm
the average white American has more Native American blood than Elizabeth Warren does, according to her DNA test."
I think it was her 2%, and it was like South American or some shit. Or like a South American native rather than like a North American native. Which
I thought
South
it was
American
less
has
than
natives.
1%.
It might have been 1%. It was real low. It was negligible. It was almost nothing. Should she have used that on her college application? 100%. Thomas, I want you to do a college application and lie your ass off. I support every young person on a college application lying their ass off. College is a scam. Fuck them. You should lie to them. And if that's the 1% that puts you into a college, good job. College is a stupid fucking scam that I hate. And I'm glad she lied to them. Again, I'm off topic. Okay. What is in the news? What is this? What did I do this? Click on this for? The hell is this? I don't even remember why I clicked on these links. Let's keep talking about JD Vance, though. Okay. In his attacks on the childless left, JD Vance once hyped a plan to give parents more votes. A viral clip from 2021, not that long ago, shows Donald Trump's running mate hyping an anti-democratic plan once pushed in Hungary that would give people with children more voting power. Let's hear what he has to say.
Let's give votes to all children in this country, but let's give control over those votes to the parents of those children. When you go to the polls in this country as a parent, you should have more power, you should have more of an ability to speak your voice in our democratic republic than people who don't have kids. Let's face the consequences and the reality. If you don't have as much of an investment in the future of this country, maybe you shouldn't get nearly the same voice. Now,
that's all from there. This is dumb. And
I'd agree with that.
It's I can't buttons. I appreciate you becoming a YouTube subscriber. Thank you. Yeah. You said you wouldn't support that?
No.
Okay, I agree. Yeah, this is a dumb idea. I think he is simply reaching out to the hard Christian right, because they do tend to have a lot of kids. I think he's at like a Christian conference there, speaking to that. And
I mean that's kind of a problem though, because in our country right now, the dumber people are the ones having the majority of kids. I mean,
it's kind of true.
It just is true. Like, the more intelligent people get, the more they involve themselves in like family planning and whatnot, and they end up, as a result, having less kids on average. You'd just be handing control of the government over the stupidest of the population.
I think you're right. Yeah, there is the idiocracy thing happens. The intelligent and the more wealthy and first world you become, the more affluent you become, the less often you have children. Generally, except for Elon Musk. Yeah, usually as you move up the social strata, as you move up the what's the word? Not corporate ladder, but the social ladder, sort of. You're making more money, you're higher on the pyramid. You tend to have less children. That's a normal thing. That's a thing that we've noticed throughout all societies, I think. And I think that's why would he say this? Why would he suggest it? Because the base that is he's trying to appeal to is the poor people with lots of kids. So he's just saying the things that they want to hear? Is that what he's doing there?
Probably. I mean, it's never going to happen, so.
Okay, so I mean, I don't care if it's never going to happen. His ideas are what I'm measuring. His words are what I'm measuring and evaluating, not whether or not it can happen. I know we get into that discussion about Trump all the time. Trump says it's a crazy thing, and then you say it doesn't happen, and I'm like, well, it matters what he wants to happen. If J.D. Vance wants this to happen, I don't want him in charge of the government. If he wants this to be implemented, I don't want people to vote for him.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm not voting for J.D. Vance.
Okay. Economic development is the best birth control. John Kay, yeah, absolutely right. Descartes said that, or Voltaire or something. One of those smart guys. One of them fucking Frenchy smart guys. And I think he's right. Economic development is the best birth control. I think he's correct there. So, yeah, I don't like that J.D. Vance said this. I don't like that he's pandering to people who I think might want it implemented. These are dangerous people saying dangerous things. Let's not support them. Let's not vote for them. So let's close that one.
I think part of why he's doing that is because if you're a suburban, like, middle class family, a lot of those are typically more liberal until they have kids and suddenly they become conservative.
Okay.
But I think that the overall idea, even if it were to be implemented from that particular perspective, it would end up resulting in people moving, or the country moving left faster, actually.
Oh, yeah. I think so. All right, let's look at Donald Trump. What is he up to? Pop this up on the screen. Why is Trump urging his supporters not to vote this election? It's a very strange debate winning strategy. Donald Trump is pursuing mind-boggling election strategy. On Fox News Thursday morning, Donald Trump had a weird instruction for his supporters. They don't have to vote. My instructions, we don't need the votes. I have so many votes, Trump said on Fox and Friends. The Trump message was preceded by talking about how his campaign had lawyers at every poll booth. Lawyers at every poll booth. This is going to be great. You don't have to vote. Don't worry about voting. The voting, we got plenty of votes. It's strange. I'm going to refresh this. He's a lunatic, man. He doesn't make any sense.
All right.
And then I think I've got the video here if I can just convince it to play. No, I don't think I can. Well, I wanted to play this video. Nope. I can't get the video. Okay. Regardless.
It's the script. It's a script.
Yeah,
that
it's the thing that's goofing me up. Anywho, why he says that? Because he's a lunatic. What does he mean by we have all the votes? He's just talking. He's just a talker. He's just a jabber. He's a gabber. He just give. He doesn't know what he's saying. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But we do have a video of him saying something like this right here. So I'm going to play this, and I'm going to rewind this a few times. Everybody should get ready, because I think he says something shocking here, but it could just be a misspeak. It could be a slurred word. I hate it. I'm going to turn this. Oh, okay. Here we go. Ready, Donald Trump, go.
Vote early, vote absentee, vote on election day. I don't care how, but you have to get out and vote. And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time.
Just this time.
You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out.
Did he just say I'm not Christian? Did you hear him say that?
Did he say I'm not Christian or I'm a Christian?
He shook his head to the side. This is what one, first of all, you don't have to, only this time, you don't have to vote after that. Why don't they have to vote after that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because he's a lunatic.
Because he's not going to run again.
Because he's not going to run again. He doesn't give a fuck about who comes after him. He doesn't give a shit about who came before him. He's the one who is important. He is a narcissist. You must vote for him because he has to be in charge. But then I think he said not a Christian, and then he shook his head. Everybody in chat, tell me what you think. Did he say I'm a Christian or I'm not a Christian? Because it seemed to me like he said I'm not. But I'm going to back it up. We're going to listen again.
Get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian.
I'm
love
not.
You. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote. In conclusion, America has always been a nation won, built, and
he said not.
Christians, I'm a Christian.
I'm
I
not.
love
And
you.
he
Get out,
shook his head to the
my
side.
beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian.
I'm not
love
Christian,
you.
he
Get
said.
out, you, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love
screen.
you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good
It's
you're not
so
going to
weird.
have to vote. In conclusion, America has always been a nation won, built, and
That's so weird.
It is. He goes, oh shit, they can't see the video.
I know, because I suck at streaming. I'm terrible at this. I see the thing, and then I look over there and I do the thing, and you and I saw it, but I didn't have it on the screen because I suck at this game. Did he say not? What do you guys think? And he's not a Christian? Yeah, according to KBB. Yeah. Did you guys hear not or I'm not a Christian.
It's weird because he doesn't make the mouth movement for an N though. He's enunciating the I'm and it comes out as I'm a Christian.
Right.
So I can't tell if he's actually saying not or I'm it is bizarre.
Yeah, I know.
I'm a Christian.
I'm not a Christian. Wait, he's doing this. So it's okay, Waldo. I'm not crazy for thinking it, right? Maybe he's doing this on purpose. The evil conspiracy theory that I have is that he's doing this on purpose just to drive us nuts, so that he can play both sides of the aisle. He's on both sides.
The way his mouth moves is weird in that one. So I'll say it twice the way that I heard it, or once the way I heard it, and once the way I saw it. So I'm not Christian. I'm not Christian. Right.
Right.
That's the two ways that it came out that I could hear it being. But I definitely. I think he was saying I'm a Christian, and he said it in the weird Trump way that he usually does.
Okay. Yeah. I maybe want to gaslight him and say that he said he's not. Some Freudian shit here. I think maybe it was a Freudian slip. Isn't that what Freudian slips are? You say what's actually true, but accidentally out loud. He gave us a little Freudian slip, and I think I should push it and be like, yeah, he's not a Christian. He said he wasn't. And then show that clip anytime anybody says he does, just to gaslight everybody. It would be fun, but that would be mean. You know who does? You know who slurs their words a lot? People who are too old to run the country. Biden was doing it, and I suggested we replace him, and then we did. Can we replace Donald Trump with somebody else?
Probably not this year.
No, probably not. Okay. So let's close that, bring up this one, which is ABC News still full steam ahead with the presidential debate despite Trump backing off the commitment. He's suggested that he doesn't want to go to ABC for the debate. ABC News is continuing preparations for an upcoming presidential debate, despite the former President Donald Trump saying he won't consider participating in a debate until the Democratic Party fully chooses its nominee. Okay, so he's hedging. Okay, I thought this was more serious than it is. But I think he might back out. What happens if he backs out of the official debate against Kamala? Does that hurt him? Does that help him? Does that change anything?
I don't think it does. I don't think anyone cares. It does. They don't care about a debate until the debate happens, and then it's what happens during the debate that matters.
Okay. ABC.
And it definitely is hedging. It's like, I mean, he already did a debate with Joe, and I think completely stomped him.
Right.
So he's got one win in a debate already. He's waiting until the nominee is set in place, and then there maybe he'll have a debate, or maybe he'll continue to back out. We'll see.
Yeah, I Can't Buttons doesn't even know they're happening until they've happened. I do pay attention to them because I'm literally a politics streamer, so I know about them ahead of time. I schedule them and all that fun stuff. But August 6th happens. The Kamala wins all the delegates. She's the nominee for sure. Official. They sign all the papers. They dot all the I's. They cross all the T's and all the lowercase J's. And then they make her the nominee. September. ABC has a debate scheduled. Donald Trump says no. Do you think that hurts him?
No, I don't think it does.
It doesn't hurt him with his base, I agree. But I think it hurts him with the normies. I think it hurts him with the middle. Because ABC will still do the debate. It'll just be more like an interview. They'll put her in front of a podium. If they have gigantic balls, they'll put an empty podium across from her, have her stand next to an empty damn podium, and be like, and then look right into and that who works at ABC? I don't know who works at ABC, but their anchor guy, who is very proud of himself, the news media, very high opinion of themselves, will look into the camera and say, we scheduled this debate. He agreed to it. He didn't show up. There's the empty podium. Let's ask Kamala the questions. And then they ask her the questions. She gives the answers. And the people, the normies, who normally would just be watching, I don't know, what comes on ABC, The Bachelor or something, their Bachelor is canceled that night. And they see Kamala standing there, giving good answers, not getting argued with, and not getting stomped on by Donald Trump.
I mean, it would be an interesting move for sure. I don't think they'll do it, but sure. I mean, maybe if they do it, we'll see how it plays out.
Okay. I think that's best case for her. That's best case for her,
right?
That's best case for her. I think best case. That's what she's aching for. That's what she wants. She wants Donald Trump to back out. Then she can go on that TV unopposed, unargued with, because it is difficult to debate with Donald Trump. He is, like I said last time, short, pithy, and wrong. He will say things that will you'll have to unpack and explain about why they're not true often. And if you're explaining, you're losing. If you're explaining why Jan 6 was an insurrection, you're losing the argument against Donald Trump at the moment. You know, if you're taking time to explain the minutia and stuff like that, you're losing the argument. If she doesn't have to do that, she comes off really well, and the people like her, and then they vote for her instead of him.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. The best you could do is you could paint him as afraid to go up against Kamala if he doesn't show up for a debate. But I'm sure he'll show up. He's threatened not to show up for debates against the other presidential candidate before, and then showed up anyway. So
okay, yeah, I think that he will, because he did the same math that I just did. I suspect. Anyway, guessing. It's hard to guess things. Predicting things is hard, especially the future. But yeah, I think he will come to that same conclusion, be there, and argue with her. And I don't know who wins that, honestly. Will she tell the truth more often? Yes. Will he lie more often? Yeah. And the people will see it, and maybe they think that he wins because he's just short, pithy, wrong. He just gets to say whatever he wants, and then she has to unpack it and explain it, and then she's going to lose. It happened to... What, did you ever watch an Al Gore debate? You shouldn't. But have you ever seen one?
As in like Bush versus Gore? No.
Yeah. Way back then. It was.
No, I've never watched those. I was too young to vote.
You shouldn't. He's incredibly boring. Al Gore was shockingly boring. Everything he said was well researched and intelligent and proper and correct. But it was a dry, boring, not even a cool TED Talk, but like it was a dry, boring lecture about numbers.
Well, and
he lost
because charisma is a huge factor in whether or not someone's going to become the president.
Right.
Whether people vote for you. I actually specifically remember, they, or rather not they. I specifically remember, like, adults. I was like, young teenager at the time when this was happening. Talking about how like Al Gore seems like a robot, and but I'd totally get a beer with Bush.
Right, and yeah, that was the thing. That was the thing. Is Al Gore? He's boring. He's just blah 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 about numbers, and nobody cares. And I'd rather have a beer with Bush. You're right. So yeah, personality matters, and being right doesn't mean that people agree with you. So, is there any other news to talk about or think about before I go on a goofy rant? Well, we got this one. I had one, but now my computer's being goofy. At least 8 large Oklahoma school districts rebuked superintendents' order to teach the Bible. The list of large Oklahoma school districts that said they will not alter their curriculum despite Republican state superintendent Ryan Waters' demand has grown. So there's schools that are refusing to do what the Republican state superintendent says. This is weird and interesting, maybe.
Sure.
Less than a month before Oklahoma school districts began classes, the state superintendent issued guidance on how public schools might incorporate his directive that the Bible be taught in every classroom. Every classroom. All of them. I mean, what if you had 8 subjects? Like in a normal high school, you have like 8 classes, right? 8 subjects a year or something like that. Like all of them teach the Bible? In June, Republican State Superintendent Ryan Walters ordered school districts statewide to integrate the Bible as an instructional support into the curriculum for grades 5 through 12. While the controversial mandate was prompted outrage from civil rights groups and some Democratic lawmakers, Walters has argued that the Bible is foundational for education and a cornerstone of Western civilization. I want to hear about these schools that have said no. The list of large districts that have said they won't be altering their curriculum despite the directive has grown to at least 8. What happens if they don't? The Oklahoma Attorney General's office has said the state law already allows for the Bible to be taught in the classrooms, but doing so is district by district decision based on comments to the media and letters sent to the patrons. Most of the districts that don't plan to implement the directive have leaned on the principle of local control in making their respective decisions concerning curriculum. This guy is a Republican, and he preaches local control, and then when these people want local control, he denies it to them, as he is above them. That's what I think is happening.
Yeah, I think Walters is a silly Billy, and it'll go to court, and nothing's going to come of this.
I agree that it'll end up in court. Why does it have to end up in court? Like, okay, there's a school, one of those 8 schools. What happens to them if they don't do what he says? They get lawsuits? That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, I hope it's only lawsuits. I hope they don't get lawsuits, but I suspect that they will. The cops don't show up, do they?
Probably not.
Okay.
No.
Good. Because
it gets to that point. No.
Okay. So yeah, it would.
I mean, who would they even arrest? Every teacher in the schoolhouse?
The principal, the administrator. I'm not sure. I don't want it to get to arrests, but it makes no sense. That would be good content for me.
No, it'll be a lawsuit that results in no, you can't tell them to do this. And then that's pretty much it. Okay.
So why is the Republican who screams about states' rights ignoring local rights?
Does he scream about states' rights?
Yes. Let's assume that he does.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to do that because
okay. I think he does, but I think he screams.
I scream about states' rights.
I know.
And I'm clearly against this, so yeah, I don't know.
I think he disingenuously, bad faithfully screams states' rights because he's in charge of the state. When that district, that smaller bit of the state, the county within that state, disagrees with him, he uses his power to push it on them. And he cries about federal governments pushing things onto his state. But he pushes things onto the district. Commonly, that's what I think about Republicans. Not about you, but when I think about Republican politicians, that's what I think. They scream about the federal power and demand states' rights because they're in charge of the state. And they will push their ideology onto those districts that are below them. If they were in charge of the federal government, they would push their ideology onto the states and abandon all states' rights.
I don't think so.
The Bark boys are going nuts out there. Sorry.
Let's see. They're begging to take up the lawsuit to SCOTUS. It's about codifying the specific law. But so here's the problem with that. Buttons. It's not a law, is it? It's the what's this guy's title? state superintendent
State
is
superintendent
issuing
of
a
schools.
directive
Yeah.
to the school districts to start doing this. There's no legislation that's been written. So
Guidance
what
for how
ends
the
up
public schools might incorporate the Bible.
yeah.
So yeah.
So if there are lawsuits, if like these schools are refusing, and even then, it's guidance, right? So what are they going to say? Well, you know, the Pirates Code. They're more like guidelines. You know?
The pirate code is
Parlay,
just guidelines.
yes.
Parlay. Yeah. If anyone of you says parlay, I'll shoot you. All right.
Exactly. They're more like guidelines, and if there is any sort of legal action taken, that's exactly what they'll argue, and then they'll even say, and also those guidelines are invalid, and because you know the separation of church and state. Also, this isn't even legislation. There's another whole thing that said that this order is invalid. All that stuff.
I think Buttons has a point here that Ryan Walters wants it to go to the Supreme Court because he thinks he'll win. He wants these things to go to the Supreme Court because he thinks that it's full of Catholics and Republicans who are going to support him.
I mean, maybe, but I don't think so. No. They don't. I don't think there's any legal grounds to force the schools to do it, and I think the courts will see it the same way.
Oh, I don't think there is any legal ground to do that. I think the separation of church and state is good, and the Supreme Court doesn't respect it. They will abandon it. They will change it. They will ruin it. They will remove that separation and say there never was one because they're ideologues who push a right-wing agenda, I think.
Maybe. I don't agree. But
yeah,
I mean,
Buttons is saying they're following the same thing as Roe. You put in the very tiny little things. You drill holes in the base. You drill holes in the foundation. That's what all those states' rights were pushing for abortion. You don't get rid of Roe versus Wade all at once. You drill a small hole in it. You put a little bit of acid in there. You find a crack and you wedge that crack open, and you drill a little hole by saying that the abortion clinics have to have doors that are 9 feet wide or something like that. And if they don't do that, then they bankrupt themselves trying to make that happen. And then you sue so that you weaken the foundation. And that's what I think is this guy is doing. This Walters guy is doing. He's weakening the foundation of that separation from church and state.
I'm telling you, this is a nothing burger.
Okay.
The guy, look, I don't support the guy. The dude's mandate doesn't make sense to me.
Okay.
Or I guess his guidelines, you know.
And if it got to the Supreme Court, they would side with the law and the precedent that has been in the past, that there is a separation of church and state and that they cannot teach the Bible in school. That's what you think that the Supreme Court will do?
Every single court, every single one of them is going to rule against this guy if there are lawsuits in this matter.
Okay. That sound, I like that sound of that what you're saying. I just don't think it will happen. I agree that that's what I want, but I don't think they will. I don't trust them. I doubt this Supreme Court. I suspect that they are what I already said it, but so yeah, you don't think, and I'll give you the last word on that one. You don't think that they will remove the separation between church and state? Okay.
Oh, I don't. I mean,
okay.
You can't. And then even beyond that, to address Shinsinto's comment, if they were to cut the budget to the school district as a result, they would have to do it through a means that involved some other metric other than whether or not you're teaching the Bible in schools. And if they did that in a bullshit way, then what would happen is the school district, or at least the people that have a vested interest in that school district, would then turn around and sue the state. In which case, I think they would win that lawsuit to where you can't cut their funding because they refuse to follow the guidance given by the state superintendent over teaching the Bible, right?
So it's just never-ending lawsuits until this guy gets what he wants. The Bible in school. He will just keep pushing it and keep suggesting it and keep suing people, and people keep suing him until he gets what he wants. Sounds like
that is kind of how our legal system works.
Sounds exhausting.
That is how our politics work.
At some point, we have to make a decision and then just kind of stick with it, maybe.
I don't think even you agree with that at all.
Sure I do.
And no, you do not. Okay, how about this? Gay marriage for the longest time was not legal, except for people who wanted gay marriage to be legal.
Right.
They made us think about it, and there was lawsuits and lawsuits and lawsuits and lawsuits and lawsuits until eventually, finally, it was legalized. Right.
Right.
If there is,
that's
people
a freedom
want different
issue.
Things, and
and
so is this.
No, it's not. It's a coercion issue. It's a forcing issue. It's forcing the Bible on people. It's not a freedom issue. Nobody's stopping Walters from reading the Bible. Nobody's stopping Walters from teaching the Bible to his kids, to the people in a church that want to come. He's forcing it on people in a school. That's the difference. Nobody's forcing you to get gay married.
I understand that, but the point is that when you want something, if you're going to bring it to the courts over and over and over again, yes, that's what happens in our legal system.
And
eventually, yes, eventually legal precedent gets set, and then it becomes harder and harder and harder to bring these lawsuits legitimately.
Okay.
So the idea here is, all right, he's done this. If it ends up in the court system, right, then the court will shut him down. That will set a precedent.
I hope you're right.
He'll try it again, and then the precedent has already been set, and it's harder to overturn a precedent. Like, a judge is more likely to just refer to precedent than to overturn it.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. Precedent is a good thing, and I like it. And I think that this guy is just simply trying to drill holes in the precedent so that someday, if he drills enough holes, and then his friend drills a few holes, and then his friend drills a few holes, and then the state of Texas drills a few holes, and the state of Louisiana drills a few holes, it will collapse. I think that's his goal right now. And you can suggest that should be the way it operates. And I guess that is how it operates. I don't like it, but I guess that is how it operates.
It's the best we got. If we can think of a better system, then I'm all for hearing about it.
Okay. Cool. Okay. Let me think. What else? What time is it? It's 11:13, so it's pretty good. We did a pretty good time. I've got a couple of rants to go on, and you can. This isn't specific any news. Story, but it was just kind of the feelings I got from reading these stories and things like that. If you'd like to tell us what to talk about, hop into the Discord. Tell us what you're thinking. Tell us what you're feeling. You can go there and put stories up that I will bring onto the screen, and then we can all feel them together. It'll be a good time. And you can go there and argue with Thomas if you want to. You can go into that Discord right there and tell him how right he is. That's a thing you can do. Or you can tell me how wrong I am. That's okay too. As long as you're not annoying about it. That one guy was annoying, so we had to ban him. But that's okay. Go there. Tell us what stories to talk about. Tell us, put some memes in there. Go nuts. Tell us what to talk about, and I'll bring it up on screen, and we can all talk about it. Are we clip chimping now? Yeah, for sure. You should. Clip chimp me all the time. That's just numbers. So what was I ranting about? I was thinking, after reading all these stories, I was thinking that Republican politicians don't like democracy. They see it as a hurdle to get over. See it as a hurdle that they have to get over to get the power and authority that they want. I don't think J.D. Vance respects your vote. I don't think Donald Trump respects the act of voting. He doesn't know why it's important when he suggests that you don't have to do it 4 years from now. I think that is because he doesn't know why it's important. He doesn't comprehend it. Just like he doesn't comprehend what fraud was. I put out that short last week. He doesn't know what fraud is. He doesn't get it. I think the Republican voters themselves support him and people like J.D. Vance and Trump because he's promising them a future that will look like the past if they just relax and let Emperor Trump make all the decisions. That is the way it seems to me. Thomas, what do you think?
Well, I mean, I don't particularly have a strong favor towards outright democracy either. So, and it's in our name, isn't it? The Democrats and the Republicans. Republicans support a republic, don't they?
Right, rather than a democracy. Yes.
Yes.
I
So,
think
I mean,
there's a balance to be had. The republic doesn't work if people aren't voting for those people that are representing them. Republic means representation, right?
indeed.
And I don't think that Donald Trump respects the act of voting. I don't think he knows what it is. He doesn't comprehend why it's important. He doesn't know why people would want self-governance. Just the way, I mean, I put out that short last week. He doesn't know what fraud is. He doesn't understand why the court keeps coming after him. He doesn't get it. He thinks that everybody's scamming. He thinks that everybody's lying about everything. He thinks that nobody has any ethics. He thinks that nobody has any principles. And to yell at him for not having principles is insane. Nobody has principles. Nobody has ethics, according to him. In his mind, this is the mind state that I think he is in. I think this is how he thinks. Am I trying to read his mind? Yes.
I'm not going to claim to be able to do that.
Okay, I can't do it, but I'm trying, working my ass off to do so. There was a galactic republic until Palpatine came, though. Thanks for bringing it back, Shinzento. Always usual. Leading to the past, I think that in some ways Republicans can and will make the world look like it did in the past. If J.D. Vance is in charge, I think he will cancel gay marriage, and lots of gay people will go back in the closet to hide because they're scared of a society that doesn't accept them. There will be fewer trans people in public because the society won't accept them. And that won't make them disappear. They'll fade away from daily life, but they won't disappear. They won't be gone. They'll just be hiding underground. The same would go for...
I mean, I can't... Like, this is all just speculation. Like, what do you want me to say here? Because
I don't know. I'm ranting.
I don't know how to respond to that. Like,
okay. Do you think that'll happen? Gay marriage is going to go away.
Yes, no, maybe. I don't know. Can you repeat the question?
Will gay marriage go away if a Republican wins?
No.
Do they want it to go away?
No, nobody.
Yes, they do.
Nobody cares about that anymore.
Yes, they do. They talk about getting rid of it.
Who?
They talk Republican Christian types at their conventions talk about getting rid of it. The thought leaders who show up on these stages talk about getting rid of it, overturning Obergefell or whatever the hell it was called. They want it gone. They want to get rid of it. They definitely don't like trans people, right? They definitely do not want trans people out in public. The Republican thought leaders want these people to stop doing what they're doing. And if you are doing it, keep it inside your house where nobody can see it. No one knows it exists.
Well, if you want the conservative Christian stance on marriage in the first place, which, my dad is a hardcore conservative, and a Christian. It's not that they want to get rid of gay marriage.
Okay.
The idea behind, or in the conservative Christian circles, at least that I've heard from, and grew up around and whatnot, is that marriage is not even supposed to be the purview of the state. Marriage is a religious institution in the first place. So the idea would be to stop giving benefits for married people, like in terms of like the tax code and whatnot, and don't recognize these partnerships in the first place under state law or under federal law.
Okay. So all the benefits would go away? There would be no more
as in like
taxes filing jointly thing? That's fine?
So like why is it that I as a single person am being taxed at a higher rate than a couple that are married? That's silly.
I agree.
And the idea behind the conservative Christian stance is it's a Christian institution in the first place, or a religious institution in the first place, and the government, we have separation of church and state. The government should not have a part in that and should not be incentivizing it.
Okay.
Or disincentivizing it.
Okay. I would be, I guess, okay with that. Here's the thing. Okay, so I just say that it's not a religious thing at the moment. But you would have to overturn all of society. Okay, no, I'm absolutely against this. Now, hang on. 1,000 years ago, marriage was about property rights, not religion. It was about property rights. It was about whose daughter gets it was about cementing relationships and politics and who owns the cattle and who owns the kids. That's what it was about. It has never been a religious ceremony.
They were pretty highly religious back then, and it has been a religious ceremony. That's why it happens in churches.
But the ceremony is only ceremonial. The power, the reason, the products, the money changing hands, the property changing hands has always been about the state, not the state that existed, feudal states and whatnot. It was never about religion. It never has been.
Yeah, I don't agree with that at all. I mean, it's always been a religious institution.
I think that's the religious people lying to you, tricking you by making themselves sound more important than they actually are. It was always about cattle and who and selling and buying and cementing things. The kings all do it. We all watch Game of Thrones. It's about cementing those two families together. You need the Greens and the Blacks to get along with each other, so you give them one of your daughters to marry them, and then that's their family, and then that's their kids, and then that was the game the Martells were playing, right? I mean, you remember the Martells? They were playing that game. Get sexy people all over the place.
The daughters were treated as property too.
Right, and they were given to all of the other fancy families, and then when they had kids, you would be less likely to attack that group of people because your nephew is over there. You know, you liked your nephew, so you're less likely to kill them all. That was the Martell's plan. Become so ubiquitous between there that no one would want to attack you.
I mean,
that's not about religion. Never has been. I don't think it's ever been about
You're talking
religion.
about like the super rich and the super powerful people making family relationships and whatnot. That's not the same. I mean,
that's what
it is the same thing. It's marriage.
Would do it. Two farmers would do it. Two farmers in Ohio in 1872 would do the same thing. Hey, I got a farm. You got a farm. We both got these kids. Let's get them together and put the whole farm together. And then our kids can run both sides. That's not religious. I don't think it ever has been. I don't think it's ever been religious.
If you say so. I think it is.
I'll look into the history of it, and I'm willing to bet that when you go back and look at the history, this is all off the top of my head, just arguing about history that I may or may not have remembered correctly, that it's always been about property and the owning of the children. As soon as we got away from tribalism and we got into the feudalism, you need to know who your kids are. In a tribal society, you don't care who your kids are. Why does it matter? They all fucked each other and they all slept in a pile and it was gross and it was sticky. But once you get into agricultural and stuff like that, I need to know who to leave my land to. That goes to the firstborn son. Well, we have to know who your wife is and we have to know who your firstborn son is. And if she's running around with everybody in the tribe, it doesn't work. So you need to know who your children are. You need to know who gets these things, who inherits this stuff. And that's state stuff, not religious.
Well, I mean, that's mating strategy stuff, isn't it?
Well, that's well,
So,
sure.
I mean, and
Well, no, that's
still,
not mating strategy. No, that's state stuff.
and
That's who I give my stuff to when I die. That's state. Who gets your stuff when you die it's called estate planning. It's got the word state right there in it.
I mean, I'll take Button's word for it that the Bible is explicit about inheritance.
Well, it probably is, yeah, but not for religious reasons, for cultural reasons, for societal reasons.
What do you-
the Bible
what do you
is
think
to set up a
religion is?
society. It's a
That's
control,
exactly.
a societal
It's
control. Societal control. That's what it is.
Societal control. No,
Yes.
it's guidelines for
Guidelines.
establishing a.
Snyder Amanda, thank you for turning the frog guy. I appreciate it.
It's guidelines for how we don't turn the freaking frogs gay. You know what I mean?
It's guidelines for a society. I agree with that. What's that got to do with Holy Ghosts? Fucking nothing.
a lot of
Nothing.
religion has to do with that actually. Like,
No, that's
like,
the
why
paint
is
on
it
the
that-
walls, man. The Holy
What?
Ghost is
No.
the paint on the
Why-
walls. The Bible is to set a society
I don't think
with
that's
rules,
what I'm saying.
guidelines.
What did you think I was saying?
Okay, sorry. I got excited. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So that is what the Bible is for. Is like, or any religion really is to set guidelines for society.
Okay.
The religions are an accumulation of wisdom, I would say. Some of it is not necessarily needed anymore. For example, why is it that under certain religions you cannot eat pigs? You
Because
can't eat pork.
2,000
right?
years ago, they were filled with parasites and would kill
Exactly, because back in the day, before we knew how to cook the pork, if you ate the pork, you died, right? So the religion said, "Hey, don't do that." How do you teach people to do something or not to do something that you can't, like, they can't experience for themselves, or if they do, it's extremely harmful to them, right? Well, that's what religion is for.
I agree with you. That's what it's for. That sounds like a state to me. That sounds more state to me than spirit, doesn't it? Telling people how to that accumulated wisdom of what keeps you alive, what keeps you dead, who to give your stuff to when you die. That's a state, not a spirit. The spiritual stuff is painted on to make people like it a little bit better. It's the energy, it's the excitement, but it's not the purpose. It's the paint on the scaffold.
Not really, because without giving people a personal incentive to do something, they won't. Like, if we
Right, I
know,
know.
for example,
Yeah,
that
I agree.
certain behaviors are good for society, but those behaviors are, like, for example, hey, don't go and steal things. Well, it benefits me to go steal something, right?
Right.
But, and you
It
know, I totally
harms
could get away with
society.
it, right?
But
But it does harm society to do
Right,
that.
I agree.
And guess what? If you do that, well, when you die, you know, the Almighty God is going to is going to send you to hell where you'll
Right.
burn for eternity, right?
So we've
now
got
you have a personal incentive not to do this.
So we've got a structure
Right.
here. We've got scaffolding. We've got walls built up. Don't steal. It's bad for society. But to convince people of that, we had to paint it with spiritualism. It's paint. The structure is structure about how to set up the state. Don't steal because it's bad for society. And the spiritualism is the paint. But the paint is more interesting to most people. I agree. I that doesn't surprise me. I'm not arguing that you are incorrect with anything you're saying there. It's just that I'm looking at it from a different perspective. The paint is what convinces most people, not the structure.
Well, so
The structure is a lovely side effect. The structure is the point of the people who write the thing and put the thing out. The paint is how you get the people in the door.
I would agree with that one. Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Okay.
And I could make the argument that religion or their lack thereof is responsible for a lot of the ills we're seeing today in society. Like, for example, our greater than 50% divorce rates and the single or the single parenthood that exists right now for children.
You think that's due to religion, or is it due to a lack of religion, or
A lack of religion?
a lack
Yeah,
of the paint, or a lack of the
exactly.
structure?
It's a lack of both. Without the problem the problem with this analogy is that the structure is necessary. In order to get people within the structure, you need the paint, right?
Well, that's how you get people to accept the idea. Okay, I'm on board. They accept the paint. They look the paint. They like, hey, this is great. I love it. I'm so glad that this paint is holding everything up. But it's not. It's the structure that's holding everything up.
And without it, nobody goes in. And then,
Right.
so if you tell them, hey, you have to go in there or our society collapses, they're going to look at it and say, well, that's an ugly building. I'm not going to do that.
I think you and I have structural disagreements, not paint disagreements. I think you are talking about the single mothers and the what was the other thing you mentioned a minute ago? The divorce rates. I don't think those are harmful. You're telling me that's a bad structure, and I'm telling you, no, it's fine. Who cares?
I'm telling you, it's an awful structure. Yes, I am.
No, I don't
Absolutely.
care.
Are you kidding?
It's not harmful to us in any way.
Outcomes for children, it's not just single mothers, single fathers too. Outcomes for children in a single parent home are notably worse, measurably worse in every metric than children raised in dual parent homes.
I think that's due to poverty and the lack of resources, not because they have two people. And if two people is better, why isn't 3 or 4 or 5 even better?
These are
structural
isn't.
situations. Okay,
And in fact, they used back in the day before I was alive, or before either of us was alive. The grandparents also used to live in the home, and
Okay.
they used to also raise the grandchildren.
Okay, and that's
you're
a
right.
structural issue.
2 or
Okay,
3 or
great.
4 or 5 people.
Okay,
yes,
great.
but having more people to raise the children is better. Yes, within the home, and you have to have a family for that. And children do better in situations where they have family support, and the more family support, the better.
I can agree with that. I really can.
All right.
I can
Well,
agree
then
that will make you slightly better. But you can't
Then,
force
yes.
that on
So-
people. You can't
so-
legislate that into being. But
I
you think you can
agree
paint
with
it into
that,
being
too.
with the spirituality? You think with the spirituality you can paint that into being?
Well, I'm making the argument that religion does serve a purpose, and I also have made the argument that the state should not be involved with religious processes. So we disagree on whether marriage is a religious institution or not, but I think it is, and
Okay.
I don't think that I should be penalized for not being married. In the terms of what benefits I do or do not receive.
Okay. And one sec, I'll get back to it. I Can't Buttons, I appreciate that. Thank you very much for subscribing. It makes a big difference to this little stream, so thank you very much. Public policy and economics was the most impactful class I ever went to. Okay, interesting, John. Thanks. So I think that those are two different structures. That's all. The state is a structure without the spirituality painted onto it, and the church is a structure with spirituality painted on. That's all it is. It's just a different structure. That's the important part to me. That's your first sub ever. I appreciate that, Buttons. Thank you very much.
That is a big honor.
That's super nice. Yeah. Do you see how I'm saying they're both structures?
They are, but there is a correct structure and a incorrect structure as well, right?
Sure, there can be mistakes within the structure, things like that. I can accept that. Hey, maybe the state built a thing and it was incorrect, and we had to unbuild it and rebuild it somewhere else. There's plenty of incorrect structure, I think, within the church. They push all kinds of things that I think are anti-freedom, anti-human. And why would they do that? to say, no, you can't gay marriage. There are very, very, very few churches that are like totally on board with the gay marriage. Why? Because they think that's bad for their structure. And because they think it's bad for their structure, they paint it with the spirituality to say that it is a sin and that you will be punished just like the thief who steals. The thief is harming the structure, and they think that the gays are harming the structure. And so they paint it with the spiritualist brush that says you will burn in hell if you steal, and you will burn in hell if you sleep with a dude.
Okay, and it could very well be that they're wrong about the gays. And I'm willing to accept that. That's fine. But, I mean,
so
that's why the same religion, as in Christianity, that in the past didn't allow you to eat pork, now does.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Well, some of them do. I mean, it depends on who you're asking. The Jews and the Muslims still don't.
Well, yeah, they still don't, but Christians do, right? And
Christians do, usually, yeah.
You know, the stuff about not eating pork is still in the Old Testament, right?
I know.
But Christians eat pork anyway.
Because we've built a better structure.
The guide, yeah.
And then
guidance has changed.
And then we stopped paying attention to the old paint. The paint, the structure was, don't eat the pork for a reason, it will kill you. The paint was, it's a sin. We have progressed beyond that idea into new structures, better structures, more up-to-date structures where we figured out how to cook it, we figured out how to farm it, and it's fine to eat it. So we changed the paint, and it's new structure. Where was I going with this? What was I thinking about?
We got off
marriage.
On a tangent.
I know.
Yeah.
Marriage has never just been the paint. It has been a structure. I agree with you. Would you agree with that statement? I think that's what you said earlier. Marriage is part of the structure.
Yeah.
And the ceremony is the paint. Yeah.
Sure.
Showing up in the suit with the white dress and the black tie, and all your friends are standing around, and then you're throwing the bouquet. All that's paint. I agree. I think so, because you can do marriage without the paint. You can go to the justice of the peace, marry somebody, sign the forms, and you'll be done in a day. And no one has to be there, no one has to witness it, and all that stuff. That's structure without paint.
I mean,
that's how I got to this. That's how I get to this end point.
It's not a matter of
not.
structure. What you're advocating for is not a structure. It's an enforcement of a structure, right? Like the signing of the names on the paper, and then assigning, like, if you guys get divorced, then one of you has to pay alimony, and there's John Kay referred to child support and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. That's all structure.
That's
right?
all legal stuff that involves enforcement of a structure.
It's part of the structure. How is that not structure?
Right.
It very, very much seems like structure to me.
Well, so the problem with the legal structure versus the religious structure, and so it is that the legal structure is enforcing things that don't exist within the religious structure, right? So what I'm saying is the religious structure does not afford for divorce, right?
The religious structure doesn't accept it. Okay, gotcha.
Right.
They have said this is an unacceptable thing.
They're saying that divorce is a
yeah.
bad thing. We don't do divorce. It doesn't happen.
It's bad for the society we're trying to build. It
bad
is not
for
a
the
good
society,
thing.
right?
Okay, great.
The legal structure says no fault divorce. You guys can get divorced whenever you want, except when you do it, one of you is going to be penalized.
Okay.
You're going to have to pay alimony to the other.
Okay.
Right?
That is a structure that exists within the government, yes. Because the government offers you more freedom than religion does. That's the point I'm getting to.
Wouldn't the freedom
to
be able to be married and divorced without the use of government at all? Why would you enforce this institution?
It is a part of the government. It's part of the structure as it stands. You can live with somebody and never get married for 20, 30 years. The common law rules don't, I don't know if they apply. Sometimes they do. If you live with the same person for 6 years, it's called common law marriage or something like that. I don't know about all that. But if you just lived with a girlfriend for 10 years, then you guys broke up, you don't have to pay alimony, right?
You do if you live in the same place.
If you live in the same place?
Under same places under common law, yeah.
I mean, if you would have to go to a court for that, wouldn't you?
She could absolutely sue you for alimony.
Sue in a court, right. But if you don't, if she doesn't sue, what happens? Nothing.
Nothing.
Great. Okay, so there's freedom there to go and do what you want. I agree. I accept that. Does the church support that?
The church doesn't support fornicating, which is
exactly
which is to live
they don't support
with
that.
someone of the opposite sex in the first place.
So the church limits freedom in almost all cases. That's why I don't like it.
That
they have considered
are better for society.
Are better for their structure. They limit that freedom, and that's why I don't like them.
At some point, there's a structure that's correct, and there's one that's not.
No,
and overwhelming ultimate freedom. Yes.
Nonsense.
I'm sorry,
we're
but
getting back into
there is something to be said for structure.
The structure is acceptable, but saying that one is correct and will be the most correct. Now we're getting into that objective morality thing again. There is no correct structure. There's structures that work and there's structures that fall, and there's changes over time, and there's updated structures. It is always subjective, that structure. If you don't think it's working properly, then try and convince people to use it differently, or rebuild it, or change certain things, or abandon certain things, or use your freedom to say, I don't think that's good for me, so I'm not going to go do it.
Well, there it is. It's our politics.
And now we're back into politics. Exactly. Shinsedo is saying the structure is correct because I believe it is. I think that's a dangerous sentence. I think this structure is correct because I believe it is. I don't like beliefs. I think they're a bad idea. Freedom
is correct because I believe it. I mean, can we look at metrics and see the outcomes of different structures? Like, for example, can we look at the outcomes for children raised in single parent homes versus dual parent homes?
And those numbers can support you, and they probably do.
Oh, they absolutely do.
That doesn't make it correct. It means it could be beneficial. That's maybe it's the absolute language of one structure is correct. Maybe it's the same issue that you and I always have is objective. I don't think there's anything. There's almost nothing that is objective. There is almost nothing that is correct. There's almost nothing that is absolute.
I mean, that is the nature of fact-finding, right?
To get closer to the truth, sure. But you'll never find it. You'll never be completely correct about everything. There is no 100% perfect. There is no perfect. You can strive to be more perfect, but you can't be perfect. There is no such thing.
Okay, so my overall point for this whole part of the conversation was that religion does have a place in terms of it is the accumulated wisdom over time that provided a structure to where, hey, these are the things that work for society and these are the things that don't.
I can agree with that assessment. I can agree with the way you're describing it there. I think you are correct. Well, shit, now I can't. Now I said correct. I think you are doing a good job describing it. But I think the government is the exact same thing. I am now, I never had this thought before until a couple of minutes ago, but I think they are just, the religion and the government are just simply two different government structures, two different structures, and they are competing. They are competitive, so they're two competitive societies. And I think the government offers me more freedom, and it offers more people more freedom. That's why I support it over the church. Because freedom is the basis for which I begin my politics. It is the underlying core. It is the underlying bedrock. that you really can't get below in my hierarchy of political importance is human freedom.
Yeah, I don't find that to be the highest thing in the hierarchy of importance.
Right, and that's why we keep disagreeing. That is why it's fun to talk to you. That's why I think we have something going on here with the chat and all the things there, because we have different base ideas.
So I am interested in some of these comments.
Yeah.
So John K. I read earlier. His parents got married religiously, but not under the state. And then his mom had to raise him on his own with no recourse. That's unfortunate. I would say that under the current structure, your mom probably did have recourse to sue your dad for child support if he wasn't around. And yes, two-parent households do perform better. They don't do better. The reason why they don't do better from an economic standpoint, or the reason religion isn't the reason why two-parent households do better from an economic standpoint. I mean, it just makes sense though, right? If you have two parents, you have more time, face time with the kids. You have more income in some cases. How is a two-parent household? Maybe I'm not reading this right. Religion isn't the reason why two-parent households do better from it. Okay, no. So religion isn't the reason two-parent households do better, but religion just says, hey, two-parent households are better. So you should do that.
They have looked at the evidence and they have suggested that it is the best way to go, and it is more beneficial to you and to the people involved and to the structure, and they are pushing it as the right thing to do. I think you're right. That is what they're doing. Does that...
Okay.
And that is fine to push positives. I think that's fine. But when you start harming negatives, like, or you start preventing people from making choices, it bothers me all of a sudden. It gets me. I'm like, wait, you can't choose that? Okay, well, I don't like that. I immediately irk at the idea that, no, you can't get divorced. Well, that's a loss of freedom, and I don't like that. You aren't allowed to marry a dude. Okay, well, wait a minute. That's a loss of freedom. I don't like that either. And the losses of freedom, yes, the government does that sometimes, but I think the church does it more. Which is why I generally don't like them, and I generally don't think that. And we're not even talking about the paint the spiritual paint they spread all over everything, that I think is absolute nonsense, made up fiction. But the idea of their structure, I'm not okay with. The fact that they're painting it with fictional paint, I'm not okay with. And so when people push the ideas, or J.D. Vance stands in front of a bunch of Christians and tells them the things that they think and the things that they hold dear are important and valuable, and he's going to push them within the government, it makes me nervous. It makes me not want to vote for him. It makes me think that he is dangerous.
So I do think that the principle of having freedom as the absolute foundation for everything is I'd say misguided, incorrect,
okay.
Damaging.
Okay.
I mean, there are a number of there's a lot of research. There's a number of books that are published on the subject. But gosh, we've read The Fate of Empires together, actually.
Mm-hmm.
There's that. There's if you've ever read Sex and Culture by J.D. Unwin.
I don't think so. But if it's
any number
evolutionary biology, I ain't gonna do it.
It's
Those
not
guys are all
evolutionary
insane.
biology.
Okay.
so sex and culture is sort of a look into the policies around marriage between different societies throughout history, and how productive overall that they were in terms of like their achievements in science and conquest and all the different fields that we might measure production in.
I've
And it
never
turns
read
out
it.
the ones that are more free get less shit done.
Probably, yes. It
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me. The people with more freedom get less shit done. Yeah.
So
I'm
so
accepting
if,
that.
What is our goal here? Is are we trying to actually like maintain a society that gets things done,
No.
or are we looking to
Human freedom.
just
That's my goal.
okay, sure.
Yes, that's the base. What should my base be? If you had a base, what would your base be? Would your base be something other than human freedom? And if you need to think about it, that's fine. We can bring it back to a question later. But that is the question that I would ask you: is where's the base? Where's the bedrock?
The bedrock. Definitely not human freedom.
Okay.
What gets us the best outcomes for the most people?
So, what prosperity? Would that be the bedrock?
Yeah, sure.
Prosperity.
Actually,
I'm thinking about
yep,
what
prosperity.
word could describe the thing that you're describing, and I'm thinking prosperity
Yes.
might be it.
That sounds perfect.
Okay,
Prosperity would be
prosperity. John K. That's what we're talking about. These core concepts are so important and have huge implications. Right. My core concept, my base, is human freedom. Thomas, yours would be prosperity, because that's more important to you. That people be prosperous. We continue. We produce. We make things. We make the world a better place for the humans that are involved in the world. Right.
Sure. Yeah, I mean that's the idea, and unrestricted human freedom can end up with being contrary to what makes things better for everybody.
Of course I can. That's why I don't push unrestricted freedom. I say
But
that the
freedom is your
core,
foundation.
Freedom is the foundation, yes. And then building upon that that foundation of freedom, what harms other people's freedoms. When you steal, like we discussed earlier, that thief that's harm that nobody likes. Nobody likes that. And there's no fucking society alive that is like, yeah, it's cool. Take what you want. Nobody has this structure like that. That person is harming other people's freedoms. When someone stole something from me, I no longer have access to it. It's not mine anymore. And the thing that I worked for, the thing that I built, the thing that I put together is gone. My rights, my freedom is harmed. If you
But
murder someone.
you would restrict the other person's freedom to take that thing from you,
Yes.
wouldn't you? Yes.
Restrict the
So-
people from doing it. So I'm not unrestricted freedom. I'm saying the restriction is built because you're harming people's freedoms. But would you build the restriction because it harms prosperity?
Well, yeah, because prosperity is generally like the nature of the word itself is what's best for everybody, right? We prosper, we live long, and we prosper, right?
Sure.
The freedom it make as a foundation. I feel like it's a foundation made of sand.
Which one? The freedom?
Yeah,
Okay.
freedom as a foundation. I feel like it's made of sand.
It is difficult. I agree.
If you build things on freedom and hold it as your highest principle, there's no point to which you can reasonably stop and say that you can't do something unless it impacts the freedom of somebody else. And even
Right.
then,
And that's an easy way. I think I can do that all day. I can.
Well, no, you can't.
Of course I can. Give me a
Okay.
scenario and we'll determine whether or not it harms someone else's freedom. It's not that hard.
Oh, sure. All right. So there's a married couple. This is, I guess, relevant to what we're talking about. There's a married couple, and they get divorced.
Okay. They
If
have
the
the freedom
woman
to do
wants
so. I'm on
If
board.
the woman wants a divorce, she gets alimony from the man. And if the man wants a divorce, the woman gets alimony from the man. Which one is free to make the decision to have the divorce?
They were free to get
Which
married.
one's more
They were free to
right?
choose the divorce, which I think is fine. The state deciding one of you gets paid and the other one doesn't generally is a leftover from the misogynist government we used to have, the misogynist world we came from, that we got better from. And if we move forward into the future and women make just as much as men all the time, and there's no more worry about the wife being a homemaker and doesn't have any skills and cannot function, because that's why alimony existed, because women couldn't get jobs. In the 70s, women couldn't even have their own fucking bank account. How are they going to live on their own? How are they going to use that freedom to divorce this person if they can't have a bank account and they can't be single and they cannot exist? Alimony is a vestige, a leftover from when we were worse. And if we want to be a better society and we make things better, I'm all right with getting rid of alimony. I really am. If it is, if it's not serving a purpose anymore, get rid of it.
Fair enough. So what would you do with the institution of marriage in terms of the government? Should be like, if you're not going to have divorce rules, right? If like when you get divorced, here's like you have to pay this person so much. Do you think that it's reasonable to eliminate the marriage thing from government overall?
No, because it's only a state situation. It's only a state thing. Kid, what's the word? Not when you own them. What's that thing? Fuck. The mom gets the kids. What do we call that? There's a fucking word for it. Determining who takes the kids, who gets the house, who gets the car that you bought together. That still needs to be decided by law and by rules. If you were married for 10 years and you have 2 kids, custody, fucking, that's the word I was looking for. I couldn't find that word in my head anywhere. She said, got it right. Good job. Custody needs to be discussed and it needs to be figured out and it needs to be set in law of who gets custody when, and the judge needs to make that determination. And that's fine with me. That isn't a lack of freedom. That is the government. You had the freedom to choose to separate. Now we have to determine what to do with the assets. You have 1 car and 2 of you. Who gets it? Who paid for it? Did one of you make a shitload more money while the other one stayed home to take care of the children? Well, that looks bad on a fucking resume. We live in a capitalist society. Not that I'm happy about that, but it does look bad on your society, on your resume, if you haven't had a job in 4 years. It doesn't look good. It's very difficult to get that stuff off the ground, which means you will need some sort of assistance. I'd rather the person that you're separating from give you that assistance rather than the state, but I'm okay with the state giving you some as well. But from the other direction, the religious side wouldn't allow you to even do the divorce. So you do not have that freedom. You do not have that choice. That is a choice taken from you. That is a choice taken from you, even in non-religious by Republicans. They would talk about the ending the no-fault divorce. That is a freedom that they would take away from you. I'm a big
fan of ending no-fault divorce, yeah.
That is a freedom that you would take from people. I don't know why you would do that. That sounds like a bad thing. Taking choices away from people, taking freedom away from people, preventing them from making choices that they want to
preventing them from making choices that would harm
society?
Right? Reduce prosperity. It's
right.
It's a matter
reduce
of
your prosperity, which is why you're not against it. And that's why. Okay. See, now we've gotten to the core. I don't think prosperity is the most important thing. I think I guess the crux of this entire argument. You think it hurts their prosperity, and I think it hurts their freedom.
Does enhanced prosperity not also bring greater amounts of freedom in general? Like, for example, without prosperity, you would never have an air conditioner in your home. You needed prosperous society to develop that, right?
I'm not
And
saying
air
it's
conditioners
useless.
allow us to live in more humid or hotter climates, right? They or any number of technologies that exist are the result of prosperity, not human freedom.
I don't argue that. I'm just saying it's
Like
not
a
as important
refrigerator
as human
is a
freedom.
more apt example.
Okay, and if it took 1,000 slaves to have invented that refrigerator, I don't accept it. You could, if Elon Musk came out right now with his crazy, he's a crazy person who eats a lot of ketamine. If he came out and said, "Listen, I can solve fucking global warming. All I need is like 1,000 people to be completely enslaved for like 10 fucking years," I wouldn't accept it.
I think that's obviously
But it's very
Straw man.
prosperous. It's prosperous, but it's gigantic prosper. We would all prosper from such a thing. We would all
It's
prosper,
not.
but we don't accept it, and I don't think you would accept it either.
Well, no, because
freedom is
the
important.
Acceptance, no, because the acceptance of slavery as a something that we can do in society, it reduces prosperity overall.
It reduces freedom too, right? Those people aren't free; they're slaves, right? So, I'm not trying to connect you to slavery. I'm not. What I'm suggesting is freedom is important, is the most important to me. You're suggesting prosperity is the most important to you. I'm not saying prosperity is garbage, dog shit that needs to be thrown away. No, it's a thing that is important, but not as important as human freedom. That's all I'm getting at.
There's probably a balance to be struck, right? I mean,
Right. I agree with that too. We need to balance these things out. We need to have politics. We need to argue how much is too much freedom and how much is not enough prosperity. You know.
yeah. I guess depending on what your starting point is, though, if you use freedom as your foundation rather than prosperity, you end up with chaos.
Only if you handle it badly. Anarchy is what you're talking about. And I'm not an anarchist. I've never suggested that we should be. That is a concern, sure. Too much freedom is anarchy, is chaos. Yes, I agree. Which is why I don't want it unrestrained. I want it restrained based on, are you harming someone's freedom? And to me, two dudes getting married doesn't harm anybody's freedom. And I don't think you would say so either, which is why you're on board with it, right? Or is this a prosperity thing?
Yeah, no, two dudes getting married, I don't care about that.
Or does it harm prosperity? No.
No.
Does it harm
I don't
freedom?
think it does.
No. So we both, that's why we agree on this, because the thing that's one situation you and I completely agree on, because it does not harm prosperity for you and it does not harm freedom for me. I never thought about it from that angle before.
So maybe we can bring it to something that will be more controversial about then.
Sure.
So Buttons brings up why get rid of no-fault divorce, which I said I was a big fan of, and I am. And the reason is because if you get rid of no-fault divorce, people will be more discerning about who they get married to in the first place. And additionally, they will give a lot more consideration to whether or not they actually want the divorce. Now, if people have kids in a divorce or kids in a marriage, right? Getting rid of no-fault divorce, like, I'm sorry, but it just is a fact that children raised in two-parent households have better outcomes. So allowing a no
If
fault
the
divorce.
parents want to be there, if they hate each other and the law and the church won't allow them to separate, they would be miserable. They would be hateful. I don't know if you've ever been around a couple that hates each other, but that's what you would be putting the kid into, and they would not do better.
Hates each other. I mean, are they?
Yes. They're willing to go to a
I don't
lawyer.
think
They're
so.
willing to go talk to a lawyer to get out of this house with this person. And if you force them to stick together,
the
they
willingness
will hate
is
each
so
other.
little, though. It's not even
Divorce
a.
is a giant fucking ordeal. It's not like
It's so easy to go to a lawyer and be like, "Hey, I want to get divorced."
Lawyers are expensive. They cost a lot of money. You have to separate all your friends. You have to tell your entire family, "Here's what I'm doing." You have to go to court cases about custody of children. You have to decide who owns the car. You have to decide who owns the house. It's a fucking life-changing ordeal, and nobody's doing it flippantly.
Sure it is.
I don't accept.
And whose
No,
fault is
I
it?
don't accept that. Nobody's doing it flippantly.
But it is someone's fault.
The women have to change their name back and forth. This is not something that's happened flippantly. This is something that requires a ton of dedication. It requires dedication to get married, and it requires just as much dedication to get divorced. Living comfortably, and I'm gonna dial it back here. If you're just in a rut and you're not super in love with them, you probably won't even go through the divorce. You'll just carry on, muddle through for a very long time. Anybody who's getting divorced wants to be away from that person, and it requires dedication to do so.
Yeah, I don't agree. I think it's too easy to get divorced right now, and I think that way too ezy.
Too
And
easy. Calling a
I think
lawyer,
that-
going through all the paperwork, changing your name, losing your friends, picking your friends. Honestly, I knew a guy who I used to play board games with him and his wife, and I played D&D with both of them. And then she started doing one of the guys in the D&D group, and the whole thing had to break up, and I had to choose, who am I going to talk to? Who am I going to be friends with? And
she started doing that. Guess what?
What?
It's somebody's fault, and
he
guess
got a
what?
divorce.
It's hers.
That's a false divorce. Great.
Yes,
She was
it
at
should
fault,
be a
and he
fault.
got a divorce.
Here's the problem with no fault
Had
divorce
she
is that
said ahead of time.
divorces that are fault divorces are being treated as no fault divorces in almost every single case.
Oh, wait, hang on.
That's the problem
What?
with no fault divorce. Is most divorces are somebody's fault.
I don't care for fault. I don't give a shit. It's one of those shitty words that I don't like, but because everybody can find a fault in something. Everybody can find a fault. Oh, well, the situation I'm talking about with these three people playing D&D, her husband didn't respect her and didn't treat her right. And so she ran off to some other guy who was nice to her once. Is that his fault? Is it his fault for ignoring her? Is it his fault for being at work all the time? Is it her fault for doing somebody else? Where does the fault lie?
Let the court decide.
The fault can be pointed anywhere. Blame is real easy to fucking throw around. Faults are easy to find. Faults are easy to point out. Simple. Anybody can do it. Most of my stream is just pointing at Republican faults. Honestly, I'm not even lying. I don't think I'm surprising anybody by saying that. I point at Donald Trump's faults. I do it all the time. It's easy. It is of no value. Surprise. Sorry. Buttons, I know you subscribed to me for the first time, but I'm just pointing at faults, and I have very little value. It's very easy to do. Is with the point I'm getting to. I don't care about fault. I don't think there's any value in determining whose fault this breakup was.
I think there is.
If she, and I don't think there's any value in it. Buttons is feeling cheated. I know. It's too late. So let's change up this scenario just slightly. The guy was ignoring her. He didn't pay much attention to her. He spent too much time at work, too much time on board games, didn't like her. She didn't like him all that much anymore. And let's say that she had just said, I would like to divorce you. No fault on her part. You would say that she's not allowed to do that. She doesn't want to be with him anymore.
So maybe you could have a scenario where before anyone was at fault, there is a chance for a divorce to happen without admitting fault. Okay. That's what you're suggesting?
Yeah, no fault.
All right. So
these people didn't have any kids at the time.
no kids. And she just says we need to separate,
Yeah.
right?
This isn't working out the way I wanted it to. They'd only been married for like 2 years or something like that. She came from a small town, and he came in there, said nice things to her. So they were very nice. They were very loving. They liked each other for the time. He married her. He moved her to a bigger town. She doesn't like the way that the things are going. She doesn't want to be with him anymore. She found somebody else she likes, and she says to him, "Hey, listen, I would like to be with somebody else." Like, I think this is all freedom. She had the freedom to enter into the marriage to begin with. She had the freedom to, he had the freedom to pursue her. She had the freedom to accept it. She had the freedom to get married. They got married. They moved to a new place. She accepted it. That was fine. This is all just freedom. And then when she says, I don't want to be here anymore, I think she has the freedom to say so.
Okay. So if I were the supreme dictator of America, what I would be willing to agree to would be within the first 5 years of your marriage, as long as there are no kids involved, no fault divorce is allowed.
That is a compromise, and I appreciate compromise. I still think it takes away freedom.
I can see your argument, right? I mean,
after 5 years, I still think there's a loss of freedom there. But a compromise is okay. If there's no kids involved.
I definitely can see the argument. The problem is that marriage is something that should be taken very seriously.
Except that it's not, because people are dumb and they have hormones and emotions that make them do dumb things. It's not treated seriously. Well, because I don't think it's a serious situation.
Well, at least at the moment, it is. It is supposed to be a very serious situation. Like,
I agree.
Marriage is like here. I think we're getting to the crux of our disagreement on marriage itself. Then, marriage itself, right now, in my opinion, is being treated very frivolously.
Right.
As people do it in fucking Vegas for fun.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It should not be treated so frivolously. We should not have institutions that allow it to be treated so frivolously. It's a serious thing.
I agree with you that if you're taking it seriously, it should be a serious thing, and it is an important thing, and it is a legal thing. I would suggest that people would not be more, under the way you described it, people would be more discerning. I don't think they would. Absolutely not. No, they wouldn't. Because, and I'm going to slightly change the subject here, but the people who push for no-fault divorce are generally Christian right-wing, right?
Yes, because Christian doesn't.
What else do they push
Christianity
for?
doesn't refault. Christianity doesn't.
Anti-abortion.
Hold on.
They push for all kinds of bad things.
Christianity doesn't afford for divorce in the first place at all.
Okay, so this is a package deal. This is a foot in the door that they're using.
And by the way, I am not a Christian.
I know you're not.
I was playing devil's advocate earlier for the viewers.
Yeah.
Just so that you guys know that I'm not contradicting myself.
Right, and I do throw those things at you sometimes, and I appreciate you doing the devil's advocate thing. Thomas is not a Christian; he doesn't prescribe to those things, and sometimes I throw that shit at him because he's the conservative in this situation right now.
I'm my Christian.
I'm my Christian.
Thanks, KBC.
Yes, good job. So, yes. The people who are pushing no-fault divorce generally are the hard right Christian types. They also push for no abortion and no birth control if you really go far enough. That doesn't make people more discerning. It locks them. It removes their freedom. It removes the choices that they have, forcing them into marriage, forcing them to stay in that marriage, and forcing them into what the Christians have decided is the most prosperous structure for themselves. And that is a lack of freedom that I cannot abide.
Your suggestion is that a decision...
I don't even call it a decision. Fucking
Hold on.
Hormones are running. You're not decisions. Teenagers are fucking psychopaths because they can't make decisions properly. Hormones break your brain. They make you less intelligent, not more. We need to recognize that about humanity and accept it. Sorry, I'm interrupting you. I'm sorry.
Your suggestion is that a decision is not affected by whether or not consequences exist as a result of that decision.
I don't think it's a decision, and I don't think we're even talking about consequences yet.
Well, no. The consequences are something that is supposed to be a direct output of your decision, right? So when you think about what you're doing,
only in a prosperity
and then
mindset,
you think about
not in a freedom one.
Hold on. When you think about when it comes time to do what you do, right?
Sure.
And then you go do it. There are a lot of things that factor in for a person before they go do it. For example,
sure. If they're thinking, humans have you've never made bad decisions based on hormones? I have. It's a dumb idea. Lots of people.
Oh, come on. Somebody gives you a needle and it has heroin in it.
I'm not talking about needle and heroin.
Make
I'm
the
talking
decision.
about
Hold on.
Babies.
Do you make the decision to put it in you or not?
If you're addicted, you're not making a decision. No.
But the first time.
The first time you can be peer pressured into it. You can think that it's a good thing. You can want to be experimenting. That's a decision, sure. And
okay, so knowing
in your brain can affect
knowing
your
how badly that one shot could fuck you up for life.
You're knowing how. We're not talking about drugs. We're talking about marriage.
We're talking about decisions.
And screw. Decisions are... Humans are notoriously bad at making decisions. Always have been. Always will be. And instead of forcing them to live with the consequences, you give them options to make better decisions and mitigating ways to mitigate the damage. That increases freedom. Mitigating the damage increases the freedom. It really does.
The problem is that they're not separated concepts. The problem is that as much as I would love to give everybody the ability to separate themselves from the consequences of their actions, the fact is that they took those actions in the first place, and those actions themselves are bad for society because the consequences can't be separated, no matter how much we try.
I accept that sometimes you cannot be separated from the consequences. I agree. Sometimes you can't avoid the consequences. But if you can mitigate the damage, if you can mitigate the damage to society, you can mitigate the damage to yourself, why would you be against it? That's what no-fault divorce is. It's a mitigation. No-fault divorce is a mitigation to the bad decision you made.
And if it didn't exist, you might have considered the consequences beforehand.
No. People are bad at making decisions. People don't use foresight. They never have, they never will. And instead of trying to create a society that has really looks forward toward the decisions they make, I'm going to suggest let's recognize that people make bad decisions and mitigate the damage afterward. People don't get addicted to drugs, and we'll take it to drugs because Buttons is bringing it that way, because they think it's a good idea. They generally have some sort of escapism. I don't want to talk about drugs. Sorry. But let's stick to marriage. You have hormones controlling your brain. Teenagers are psychopaths. they barely have any control over themselves. They really just do not have functioning brains, but they do have functioning genitalia, and they can knock each other up. I think it's acceptable to mitigate the damage that they have caused each other, rather than forcing them to get married at 16 and stay together for the next 70 years.
We agree that teenagers don't make great decisions.
You think
We're talking about
the
adults right now,
consequences?
though,
Well,
aren't we?
no, I'm
No?
talking about all of humanity. I don't see the difference between a 16-year-old being hormonal and a 24-year-old being hormonal and making a bad decision. It's the same hormones, the same people, same humans. And they don't
I do. Their
have
brains
to
are
have
way more developed.
right.
And also,
I think it would happen
when
less
they're
often.
16, their parents are still like supposed to be in control, except for the fact that, we don't have a whole lot of households that are, dual parent. They don't have that much oversight over the kids anymore. That's kind of a problem. Oh,
And
man.
I'm going to blame that back on capitalism, but that's not what we're talking about right now. Okay, so the kids are uncontrollable because of the stupid chemicals in their fucking brains. That's human. You're not going to change that. There's no telling them the consequences that's going to talk them out of this. Kids are notoriously bad at making decisions, even if they know the decision will cause consequences later down the line. They think that they can that it won't happen, or they can dodge it, or that it's just not that important, or it won't happen to them. Teenagers are bad at this, and in a hard right Christian conservative nationalist world that I think J.D. Vance will bring us, that 16-year-old couple has to get married, has to carry the baby, and has to stay married for the next 70 years until they die. And it limits their freedom. I don't accept that. I don't like that. I don't want the idea of their lives being controlled by this that consequence for 70 years.
Well, we're not talking about J.D. Vance. We're talking about
Republicans and consequences.
I don't even know if most Republicans. I'm arguing with you on the basis of my own ideas.
All right.
So
I will.
I don't want to hear
I
about
will stop
fucking
talking about J.D.
Vance.
Okay, great. Should that 16-year-old be allowed to, one, not get married? Do they have to get married? Does the law say they have to get married?
It does not.
Okay. Does the law allow the 16-year-old girl to get an abortion?
It does.
Oh, okay, great. That's freedom. So they don't have to get married. Freedom. She's allowed to get that abortion. Freedom. They are allowed to then not spend the next 70 years married to each other, even if they don't like each other after 30 or 40.
I think you've erected a straw man.
Freedom.
I never.
No, this is a thing that happens. Oh, okay.
Okay. I never suggested that if a woman gets pregnant, that a marriage is required as a result. That's ridiculous. When did I ever make that suggestion?
Okay, I'm taking the the people who want to outlaw no fault marriage. I'm taking their positions and trying to make sense of them. Give me your position on the 16-year-old couple, the sophomores in high school. They got left alone because all four of their parents had 2 jobs each, 8 jobs among them, and got left alone and then accidentally got pregnant. What do we do with them? Does the law have anything to say about them, or are they free to choose their own?
Yeah, I think that, first of all, the absence of the second parent in a lot of cases is a problem there. It increases the number of these cases that we have.
I wouldn't argue that.
Okay. So just by having more 2-parent households, you reduce the problem that we're talking about right now.
Okay, and you're going to get
And
to that
then-
point. You're going to get to that point by removing people's freedom. I don't think that will accomplish the thing that you think it's going to accomplish. It's going to make hateful, angry, bitter parents. That won't make the better children. The stat you're looking at is happy people who like each other and raise their kids properly.
What?
Forcing
no, I'm not.
people, yeah, of course it is. The two-parent household, how many of those are hateful towards each other? How many of those households, the two-parent households that you're talking about, fucking bicker and scream and hate each other and are not allowed to separate by law?
Do you
None.
think there were households that bickered and screamed and hated each other before no-fault divorce
Yes.
was introduced?
Yes.
Okay, and what were the
they produced my grandparents
what were the
who were
divorce
fucking
rates
awful.
back then? And
No, they didn't have divorce rates. It caused my grandfather to literally shoot himself in the head because he hated his wife.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, okay. It was my grandmother's first husband, not my grandfather. I take it back. We call him, it's a complicated thing. It's my grandma's first husband. He hated his wife. He shot himself in the head. Later, she had a second husband who became my grandpa. Sorry. I didn't mean to tell the story that way. Regardless, we all know that about her. She had a first husband who hated her so much and he couldn't divorce and he didn't want to divorce her. So he killed himself. Now, this is the thing that you will be introducing children into. That kind of relationship with no fault divorce. Shunned for divorce back then, right? So death did them part.
That is what marriage is supposed to be.
That sounds like a lack of freedom, and I don't accept it. It keeps coming back to the same point that because of a lack of freedom, he couldn't get out of it. Because of a lack of freedom, the children that would have been in that relationship would have not been happy. They would not have done better. They would be, I think, the same statistic as if you had one parent. The two-parent statistic that you keep pushing and keep suggesting, and I think you are correct. You are right. But that's because the people are happy and get along. That statistic will not hold if you're forcing people to be married. And that is why I'm against you and your position. That's why I'm arguing this position with you. Is I don't think that stat will hold. I think that stat will go back
I'm
to.
talking about an overall trend, though, right?
I think that trend won't hold.
So if the decision to get married is taken more seriously, you will have less relationships or less marriages that result in people who want to blow their brains out because they hate their partner.
Right. I agree with you. I think you're correct in that statement. But I don't think that the law preventing people from getting the no-fault divorces is the way to make that happen. I don't think the Christian right wants that, has a plan to make that happen. And there you go again, bringing about the whole politics thing. I don't think your suggestion to make no-fault divorce go away will make that happen. It won't.
The situations will still occur in some cases, yes. I just think that that situation, in return for not having as many children raised in single-parent homes, is a good trade.
Okay. That sounds like a good place to call it off today. I'm going to give you that last word. I always like giving you that thing since I'm in charge of all the buttons, you know. That is, it's about 12:30, so we're coming up at the end. Is anything else to add to that? But I think you got the essence of it right there.
That's pretty much it. Although self-harm is not the only way out.
Yeah, I don't think that's what you were suggesting. I don't think that is the direction I think you were taking it. But when I discuss your position there, that's what worries me, is that I said I'd give you the last word, so I will, sorry. That it will lead to unhappy people living an unhappy life, and not taking it out on the children, but the children will know. If you're unhappy, your kids know it. If you're in an angry, hateful, mean marriage, your children know it. And in our current society, those people break up. They'd get divorced.
Well, yeah, but then you have the question is like, is it better for your kids to know that the mom and dad don't like each other, or is it better for the kid to be in a single parent household where they end up going back and forth between mom and dad's house, and they still know that the mom and dad don't like each other, but I mean,
it's equal. It's the same. Doesn't matter. If you're brought up in an angry, hateful, forced to be in a marriage house, then you'll be exactly the same as the kid who's bouncing from one house to the other and having 2 Christmases. It's exactly the same. That's why I think your stat won't bear out. That is why I think that stat won't hold. There's nobody accidentally getting divorced from somebody they like. It's not like, oh no, everything, we were so great. We loved each other so much and we just accidentally had a divorce. That's not how that works. It's the people who are bad for each other, the people who aren't getting along, the people who are mad at each other, the people who can't fight all the time, the people who don't want to be near each other. They're the ones who are getting the divorce. And because your stat, I suggest, is built on people who still like each other, yes, that is much better for the children. I agree. That stat exists, and it's filled with people who are happy.
all right. Parting comment.
Yes, please.
To KBP. The drug rant. I thought the route that I took when I wanted to derail the topic is car break-ins in San Francisco.
Right. Thomas wants to derail the topic. He talks about cars getting broken into in San Fran, not drugs. Drugs is an acceptable tangent. And with that,
how dare you besmirch my name like this?
And with that, we will call it off for today. I appreciate everybody who came in. I got a couple of new follows on the YouTube. And I got a couple of new follows on the thing today, and a sub. Buttons has become a sub, so I super appreciate that. That's very nice. I thank you very much. I don't have that many subs, but I'm kind of new to the Twitch thing, so I just got all the cool new Twitch icons and stuff like that. And I think, yeah, see? I got these little emoted, little animated ones. I'm very excited. And I'm going to get some new lights. I'm going to do something every week or something like that to make the stream slightly better. And that's the plan anyway. Thanks for being here, Thomas. I appreciate it. Thanks for playing along when I needed you to play along. Thanks for arguing when you felt like it. Did you have fun today?
Oh, I always have fun on these streams.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that I'm not badgering you and browbeating you and yelling at you and making you feel bad. Thanks for everybody who was in chat today. I will be back on Monday.
Only when you make me defend JD Vance.
Okay, I'll try to make you stop defending JD Vance. I will point out his flaws, and then we will point them out together. I'll be back on Monday night, 7 o'clock PST, West Coast, Best Coast, for the time for Monday on the normal stream. We'll read the headlines, and if I run out of headlines, we'll play some video games, and that'll be it. Thanks everybody for coming, and I will see you on
everybody.
Monday. Goodbye.